This is my backyard bike park, and today I'm going to give you guys an updated tour. In the last video, we were just getting started, and our bike park was nowhere near as good as it is now. I'm going to show you everything that we've changed around, and also the new additions that we've added off camera. To start, I'm going to show you our first trail, called Mainline. This is the first jump, and we've made it really big in the last few weeks. This jump originally was just a small step down, but now it's at least 10 feet. After you land the step down, you go into a long catch berm, which is a new addition, and then another berm. This other berm we had in part 1, but this catch berm is all new, and it rides totally awesome. They're super fun, and they're so satisfying to ride. After a small log roll, you reach our main area where all the trails start or end. I'll talk about all these trails later, but for now, we're going to continue down Mainline. After dropping off this little ledge, you make a slight left turn into your first jump. This features nothing special, and it could be considered as a setup jump for the next feature. You could also think of this jump as a racer just because it's fairly low to the ground too. With not much setup time, you go into your third jump on the trail. We made a lot of changes to this jump. As you can see right here, it's a lot steeper and the gap's also pretty big. Since the racer gives you speed, this jump's really fun. For extra lip height, we dug the entire distance between the first jump and second jump down about 6 inches, and it's really effective. After you land the jump, you go into a decent sized roller that plunges below the ground about 2 feet. After the roller, we have another jump with a lot of setup time. This jump could easily be made bigger just because you come at it with a lot of speed. After this jump though is a massive right hand berm. As of when this video is going out, this berm is the newest addition as we only added it a few days ago. We're planning to extend this trail even farther and adding more jumps. Now, let me show you our next trail which splits off of Mainline. At the main area, you take this alternate line down into a small roller. Just like most of our other rollers, this one dives beneath the ground and it's super fun. After the roller, you go into a nice sized lip into a gap jump. This gap is over our source pit and it makes it super scary. Once you land this gap, you go into a shark fin, which is what separates Mainline from this trail. The shark fin is super mellow and fun, and there's a nice lip at the end too. Once you land the shark fin, you go into a small little racer. This jump we need to rebuild because it's just so small. We could give the lip a little bit more of a radius and increase the size to make it more fun. After you land the racer, you go into a little downhill section into a right hand berm. This berm is interesting, and I don't know why. The radius is pretty consistent. I think it's just a weird placement. After the berm, you go into the whale tail, which has been sort of destroyed. The logs at the start actually fell out, and now it's just dirt being supported. This makes the gap onto it a lot bigger, but I can't really say that it affects it that much. After you exit the whale tail, you go into the walk-up trail. If you watch my first trail build video, we built a massive booter right on this walk-up trail. We ended up taking it out to get logs and dirt for the whale tail, and it ended up speeding up the process. Right next to the shark fin trail is our green tech trail called Gear Jammer. We don't really ride this trail anymore, and it's not actually that fun. It's been overgrown with a lot of weeds and ferns. We haven't really maintained it. We use some medium-sized rocks to act as a mini rock garden, and then there's a rock slab jump. After the rock slab, you go into the source pit and then out. It's a super short trail, but it has some potential. So those are the trails that we have on the lower section of the park, and now I'm going to take you to the upper half. The first of the 4 trails at the upper half is called Progression Park. As you can see, there's weeds all across this trail, and it's kind of been abandoned. You start with 4 progressive jumps, and then go into a left-hand berm. This berm used to be built up, but it's kind of eroded. After a small roller, you go into a right-hand berm. This berm is super tall and fun, and you can take it as high or low as you want. If you're a beginner, you can go really low, but going at the top is where the real party is. After the berm, there's just some straight single track out to the main area again. To get to the other 3 trails at the top, we have to walk past Progression Park and over this log. The first trail you come across is Silly Sausage. This trail doesn't actually start right here, but it's the main trail that goes down this way. There's also Berm Crusher, which I'll start with talking about. This trail is basically a bunch of berms and rollers, and it flows super nicely. I have a whole video of building this trail, so I won't really go too much in depth. I'll just show you the changes. We've extended this first berm a little bit farther, and it's become a lot taller too. This berm is now super fun, and originally, you couldn't really get speed out of it. The next berm is a 180-degree one, and points you in the same direction you came from. The radius of the berm gets bigger as you exit, which really helps with maintaining the flow. After this berm, you go into another small roller into a left berm. This one's 90 degrees, and we built this one up in a video. After this berm comes 2 massive rollers, and they feel like machine bike park features. The first roller is straight and also huge. The second roller is a little cambered and throws you into your next berm. This one is just under 180 degrees and leads into 2 rollers and a small roller step up to finish it off. After hiking back up to the top, we reach my two favorite trails. First, let's start with Silly Sausage. Upper Silly Sausage is just still tight single track, but you might be wondering, why are those posts there? Those are actually excess from our old drop that we made, but I'll get to that in a minute. This trail is basically the same as it was in the first episode, although we did make it a little wider in some spots. After the addition of a new berm, you go into Lower Silly. I wanted to separate Upper and Lower Silly just because they're nothing alike. The name that you guys chose for Lower Silly Sausage is Air It Out, and I think that's a great name. With that though, I'll show you the new and improved bottom section. In the last video, we built the last tabletop, and I already did kind of explain this, so this will be brief. After a long straight run-in, you go into two rollers. The first one dives below the ground, and then the second one is just above the ground. After the rollers comes your first of two tabletops. I don't think this table could have turned out better, and it's just the way I like it. It's short but kicky, but it still gives you a decent pop of air. After you land this one, you have a nice setup into your last jump. The rebuild that we did last week turned out super effective, and we also made it longer. This addition makes the jump way more predictable and also reduces the risk. Finally, we've added a roller just so that it flows nicer. And now we've come to Air Supply, our double diamond jump line and my personal favorite at the park. The line has 4 features, 3 of which are jumps, and it's super fun. After walking your bike up a small set of stairs, you roll into the first jump off this little dirt hub. This is originally where the drop was, but we actually took that out and made it into a boner log with a roll at the end. In my opinion, this feature is so much better than the drop, although it was nice to have the drop for a little bit for practice. The amount of speed that you get off the roll-in is perfect, and this thing just kicks you right to the landing. Since this is the only wood feature at the park, we obviously had to give it a name, and that name is the Steez Cannon. It fits perfectly with this feature, and it's one of my favorites here. Once you land the Steez Cannon, we added about a 15-foot racer to spice up the long section that doesn't have any flow. The racer is an amazing addition, and it kicks you perfectly into the final feature, which is the step up. Now when I say this is one of the best jumps I've ever ridden, I actually mean it. You can see how perfect the radius of this lip is, and the speed that you come at it is just perfect. Everything about this jump just works, and it's definitely my favorite feature here. The lip just feels amazing, and the landing's also fairly wide. We pulled the lip about 2 feet back and gave the jump a full rebuild, and I couldn't be any happier. The material that we used to make this lip was also awesome. It was white clay, and it packs amazing. In my mind, this lip is the perfect progression jump when people are learning to do big gaps. That's it for a tour of our trails, and now I'm going to show you every run from first person. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all next week.